it was brought to our attention that Riot had been updating and releasing the global power rankings. Official Riot, powered by AWS. Not that I have to read that out because they're not powering me. But anyway, official power rankings. That's right. You're just in time, chat. Have I checked it out? Boy, have I checked it out. Let's talk about this a little bit. Let's bring the music down. Okay, before we get into anything, I think it's great. I think it's great that they're doing this. I think it's very good. I think it's good for... Oh, Sushan, thank you for the one gifted. Appreciate it. I think it's great. I think it's great that they're doing it. Is it perfect? Probably not. Although, as you'll find out, I think it's actually pretty decent for what it is. So if you take a look, you can find this on the official ValorantEsports.com website. It was also posted on the Reddit as well. But you go in and, it says Global Power Rankings, and it says, what are Global Power Rankings here on the side? I don't think I should be covering that on the camera. There we go. So GPR is a ranking of team strength in Tier 1 play. So it doesn't include challengers. It is calculated using a mix of the following scores. Context of play, so, champions more important than regular season. The latest matches matter more, so the most recent ones will always be weighted a bit more. Margin of victory, obviously, and then strength of opponent. So it's kind of, like any, like ELO rating or whatnot, where you're comparing the two, the relative strength matters. And then they actually have regional strength score, which I was surprised to find out I thought was quite accurate. I'm not even trying to glaze Pacific here, but just, first of all, the order, Pacific, EMEA, Americas, China, I would actually agree with on average. Although, I think China isn't that far behind, but then again, if you look at the points, China is only 18 points behind Americas, which is, what is this, nearly 80 points behind Pacific. So, I think it's... I was kind of surprised, actually, that whatever metrics they're using. No, this is driven by international results. I guess that's why. Although, if that's the only reason, this is prone to being really weird in the future. If this is the only reason, it's prone. But I assume they look at a couple other things. But again, we don't know the exact algorithm, which they will probably never share. And that's fine. Whatever. Everyone's going to put their own list out anyway. I'm going to put my own list out anyway next week, so don't worry about that. But overall, I thought it was good. I thought it was nice that it takes into account recent performance more. I think that's important. So I think what you have to remember is you're looking at, like, if whenever you land on the site and you're looking at current, you're looking at, like, the most recent, right? I think that is very important to note here because there are a couple of rankings. But anyway, if you look in, kind of the usual suspects, G2, PaperX, RQ, I think that's all fair. People will argue PaperX above G2 or not. But, G2 wins all 3 stages. I think that should count for something. They place at both internationals. So, yeah, you might think that their PaperX's current strength looks stronger, but G2 probably overall maybe looks a little bit more reliable. RRQ does quite well here. And I assume the recent performance kind of matters. Obviously, winning a Stage 1 matters as well. Billy is probably the first question mark that a lot of people have. I don't think it's that far-fetched. Do I think Billy is above the likes of Team Liquid and Fnatic? Maybe not. But do I think Billy is somewhere here in the top 6? Yeah, I think they could be. I'm hesitating because I haven't actually done my tier list yet, so I don't actually know exactly where I would put them. But, yeah. And then, it all is well with the world because they're beating NRG. So, like, that's just how it's going to go down. So this is one where, like, NRG is another one. I think Billy, not so much just recent. I mean, they've looked pretty good throughout the year, this year in China. NRG is the one that's a little clearly affected by recent performance, right? I think their run where they're beating a couple tougher opponents here and there, having like really massive leads against other weaker opponents, allows them to push over Team Liquid, who actually ended up winning EMEA, which again, EMEA has a higher strength score than America, so it is a little weird to see Liquid below NRG. But if you take into account, like, again, recent matches being weighted more and then strength of opponent being weighted, again, we don't know the exact numbers, but, like, I get it. But if it's better whenever you look at these, by the way, it's better to look at them as groups anyway. It's better to basically look at it as a tier list rather than an actual number thing, because that gets all iffy. So Energy Team, look at Fnatic, yeah, all pretty good. And then we see some interesting things. We see Talon, who many of us, argued that should have been or would have been the 4th actual strongest team for Pacific. And funny enough, they are actually the 4th strongest team from Pacific on this ranking. So, I guess all of us, including Riot, know what we're talking about. And look at this little team here. This little team. A top 12 team in the world. A top 12 team in the world. Surely, a top 12 team in the world wouldn't have to play through Ascension again to try to play in Tier 1 one more time, right? I mean, they're top 12 in the world. Surely a team that good wouldn't have to play through an Ascension tournament again just to try to stay in Tier 1. That'd be a crazy system, chat. I think that would be ridiculous. I'm sure that's not how things work. What do you mean propaganda? They're literally top 12. I didn't make this site. I didn't do it. The numbers, they don't lie. In all reality, though, Nongshim is another case where, obviously, recent matches and matchup matters, right? That's why they're above DRX and Gen.G, which I do think is kind of fair. I mean, in DRX, I guess, is a bit of a question mark, but in terms of recent matches being weighted, because DRX and Gen.G kind of fizzled out, Nongshim kind of had an almost really strong finish to their stage 2. Recent performance must be... that's what I'm thinking. Again, we don't know the numbers, but I think recent performance... I think this and strength of opponent is probably weighted pretty high. It's just like in-game, right? If you're fighting against someone like 3 ranks above you, you get a lot more. Things like that. I think these two probably matter a lot. But again, look at it as a group, though, right? So, like, I would actually consider kind of like Talon above, and then kind of Nongshim, DRX, Gen.G kind of in one group. And then in that sense, it doesn't really seem that weird. Sheila ADG. Wolves, of course, the 3rd place, helping a lot. BBL, unfortunately, kind of lose out on the important match. If they had won that, they probably, get boosted a lot higher. Navi, yeah, Cloud9. I mean, up to, I think, like, basically up to the first half, right, is fairly reasonable. Like, Trace is one where you're kind of raising your eyebrows, but then you're thinking, I mean, you've got the other ones you really need from China in there. Because the other ones, I mean, like, FPX, like, looked good in week 1 of stage 1, and they looked really bad, and then they looked like they might be okay in the middle of stage 2, and then they weren't, and, like, Tyloo started waking up really late. So I think Trace kind of just making it barely into the top half is fairly reasonable. I think 2G was one that I saw some people having big question marks about. I, again, think it's because their rating was so low before that. I think the 2 wins probably matter quite a bit. Those are more recent. Zeta Division, not ending very high. Neither DFM. DFM is probably, I assume, in a weird spot. Like, teams like DFM where you probably, like, you're so low and you do well, so you kind of normalize your score, and then you, like, don't do well again, it probably just tanks your score right back. So I think that probably also doesn't help. And then this was the big one. Apex, the only team with 0 on the board. A .000 win-loss ratio. And yet they are not last place. So that is one that makes, that raises some question marks. But for one, I'll just say from the context of the matches, I mean, I don't have really any qualms about it other than Genomates. I think honestly, Genomates probably got robbed the most by how this power ranking works, because they kept Genomatesing all their matches. So that's very unfortunate, actually. But I do wonder, like, Apex did have a lot of 1-2s though. Apex did have a lot of 1-2s. What happens if I click on this? Oh. Oh, okay. So win-loss is low, but the margin, game win-loss, you've got 7 game wins. Average strength of opponents, fairly high. Let's see. What about GE? GE played weaker opponents. Oh, this is where the groups come into play. Oh. Oh. It's because, yeah, because you don't play every team once. That is interesting. Yeah, Apex did have some tough matchups, though. I mean, not to say GE got off easy, but... I mean, just ever so barely. But otherwise, I mean, 7 game wins, 9 game wins. That's interesting. Yeah. I really do think it probably, you know, kind of... You have these matchups that will either really tank or really raise your score. So... yeah, but again, if you look at it in groups, I mean, I think Apex being above Furia is very reasonable. You know, when you look at these, you got to kind of look at extremes. I think Furia being at the bottom is, unfortunately, totally reasonable. But Gentlemates, I think, is like the big question mark. I think GE got robbed a little bit. GE got robbed a little bit for sure. But it's also... this is purely looking at the numbers, though, right? So it's like, this is where it's good to compare this versus like personal opinion rankings or tier lists, because it will not take into account how they lost each round. Like you could get 13 0'd and it could be a closer match than a 13-5. Like it could be in theory, right? But this would be like, wow, you got 13 0'd. That sucks. I mean, I don't know if they're even taking rounds into account, but you see what I mean? It's not looking at the context of the rounds as much. So that's unfortunate. We do not know the exact weighing. It might be in order. It might not be. We don't know. But you know, I look at the overall flow. I don't know. I saw a lot of discussion of people saying, you know, like it's bad. But I think overall it's pretty good for what it is. Like it is a pretty good snapshot of just, hey, what teams are kind of on the rise. Like, I think that's the best way to look at it, right? And then in the future, we'll just get comparisons on the stage 2 to, like, champs and such. So, I think overall, it does a pretty good snapshot when you look at it in tiers. The only ones that really got robbed... who did I say earlier? There was one that I thought, well, Gentlemates for sure... I think it's cool. Again, this isn't meant to be an end-all be-all, but I think especially for the casual audience, it's a good snapshot. I think it does a pretty good job of giving a snapshot of kind of who's just, you know, the ones to watch out for right now. Maybe this will get more people to watch out for Bilibili, because I actually think they're going to do some damage at champs. And otherwise, justice for Nongshim, having to play in Ascension as a top 12 team in the world. Unlucky, I say. Honestly, literally... just got denied by the top 11 team in the world. That is also not at champs. So, sucks to be us, Talon and Nongshim. It sucks to be us. Yes, when you click, it does show you just like the base stats that it's pulling from. So, overall win-loss record, the margin of victory. Talon, how are you... Frost, how are you going to escape the allegations, man? How do you guys have an exact 27-27 score? This can't be real. This can't actually be real. There is no way. There is no way that Talon has a perfect 27-27 score line. That's actually the most ridiculous thing I've seen. Nobody else is going to have that. I mean, nobody at the top is going to have that. Okay, crew is 22-22. Okay, thank goodness Talon isn't the only one, because my god, the script writers were gonna go nuts with that. I mean, listen, like 21 round or 1 game difference is just about the same, but when you think about the traffic light, the red light, green light, 27-27 perfect balance is incredible. You couldn't do this if you tried. Let's look at like RRQ. Power score just starts climbing up right after they win stage 1, and they just keep going up and up. Rank. Right from the middle of the pack all the way to the top. I think it's actually good for what it is. I think it's almost better that it's this way rather than being like... I mean, first of all, if you're only pulling from data, it is never going to be fully accurate. It's just going to be the safest thing. And this is meant more for the masses, right? The people who... Listen, if you want a deeper understanding of current power rankings, you know what to do. You can follow Will Chobra on Twitch, you can join Will Chobra's Discord, and you can subscribe to Will Chobra on YouTube. And then you'll get your deeper insights. But it's very cool, though. I just, first of all, I just think it's great. I just think it's great that it's happening. What about Paper Rex? Damn, that Toronto win doing wonders for the team. Holy. Oh my goodness. Dude, well, okay, hold on. We need to look at T1 slowly falling off. Oof. Rough. I have no problem with the criteria they're using. I think some people might have a problem with recent matches being weighted more. I disagree. I think for the masses, this is absolutely the way to do it. And also, opinions will also always have recency bias anyway. So, I think that's good. And if you just look at the details, it basically tracks kind of what you would think about most of these teams. Check out the Giant X graph. Giant X. A boom. That's crazy. I mean, it is kind of the story of Giant X, though. Like, the slow... Okay, like, okay, they might be better. They might be better. Oh, yeah, they might be pretty good. Oh, shoot, they're going to champs. I think it's quite good. If you're interested, you can check it out at ValorantEsports.com. Again, do not take it as, you know, the one and only, right? This is just off of empirical data. We don't know the exact algorithm, but if you have other friends or if you have people who are kind of wondering, like, hey, where should I be looking? This is a great resource, right? Hey, if you want to know who's kind of on top or who's the underdog, go check out the Global Power Rankings. And then if you want more, you can tell them to go check out Will Chobra on YouTube, and then it will be great. And I guess if they really want some other opinions, they could check out things like Sliggy and TMV and, you know, some other people, but that's neither here nor there. So I think it's pretty good. I think it's great. I also just, yeah, I like the UI. Like, it tells you what they placed at international events. It's quite nice. So go check it out. I'm glad that they're, again, kind of building all around the league a little bit more as a sport. So that should be exciting. This is going to be more things to talk about. And before we stop talking about this and we go over to our top 10, just remember, justice for Nongshim Red Force. Can't believe a top 12 team in the world has to play through Ascension to stay in T1. That's going to be it for now.